everybody. Welcome back to part 2 with Unni Turrettini. Part 1 was fascinating. We talked about exposing like the sort of corrupt organization. Little did you know, or maybe you did, I don't know, of the Nobel Peace Prize and bringing some sane goddamn nuance to this really toxic, again, cancel culture and how, you can't say anything anymore, and how it's really affecting us and affecting kids. We are going to hop right into part 2, everything gender. And when I left part 1 on a little cliffhanger about Calvin Klein and all of its audacity. So Unni, how did Calvin Klein decide to spend Mother's Day? They decided to celebrate Mother's Day, but with a campaign that was celebrating what they said, all different types of families, one of which was a full-blown trans man pregnant and carrying a child. But then on top of it, okay, I have so many feelings about this, as my audience knows, but then on top of it, they had the audacity in the comments to say, we're all about, like, again, what an oxymoron. We're all about inclusivity. And so if you share anything basically on this post that we don't like, we're going to not only take it off, but block you. Nothing like inclusive, discourse, right? About women and Mother's Day and women's rights. So Unni, where do they get off doing this?
Oh my goodness, don't get me started. It's like this crazy, it's like, it's just taken new proportions, this whole, woke narrative. And it's, for me, it's like dividing us even further. It's like created to separate us even further, right? Like this polarization. And they're just pushing and pushing. And if and I think most people are uncomfortable with this whole narrative and conversation, right? Even from the get-go. But if you dare say anything, or even just like ask a question about it, then, you are shut down, ridiculed, you're a racist, you're a sexist, you're, I don't know what you are, you're so many labels, right? So to me, that's another tool to separate us, really.
What they did is such a microcosm of our society.
Yeah.
Because I went in the comments specifically, and it's all like hearts, and this is so great, and love of all kinds, and blah, blah, blah. And then I see them saying, we're only going to accept those kind of comments here. Again, what an example of what's going on in society at large, because it creates what we talked about in part 1, this inner self-censorship where it's like, well, God, if I'm uncomfortable with this, or if I disagree, right there, it's like, no, how dare you? You can't have that opinion here on this post or in the discourse. Sorry. And I can tell you, I posted all about this saying, don't even get me started. And I had so many people who follow me reach me, men, women, moms, someone I know who's pregnant right now, saying this is lunacy. Like, this has gone so far. And then right on top of it, not even being able to publicly disagree with that. I mean, pure insanity.
Yeah, exactly. And like, what is the message we're giving to our kids with this whole thing? Like, first of all, they are like, being like a child or a teenager is already hard enough. Right? Like, there's so many mixed messages, right? They're getting right now. And on top of that, they're not even allowed to have an opinion about it that differs from the accepted opinion. So it's like, what is that? Like, what are we teaching them?
I agree completely.
They can't be themselves, really. Right.
And well, someone who would disagree with you, saying, no, this is a display of someone being themselves who, again, was the minority or wasn't accepted before. And now we are, and hear us roar. And not only is this the right thing, but we're going to bang you over the head, so much with it that if you so much as disagree, you're getting blocked. Now, on a human level, Unni, you said you're a mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as a mom, how does this strike a nerve? Because I'm not even a mom, but I want to be. And I'm like, hold my earrings, pull up my gloves. Let me get in this race. Like, I have a dog in this race. Yeah. How does it make you feel personally?
I mean, personally, I think it's like, I am so in a way heartbroken, like, and disappointed in this whole conversation. And we have to have conversations now at home to like try to repair like what's going on and what
I can't imagine having kids right now. I have so much sympathy for you guys.
It's so hard, so we have to have conversations at home on a daily basis where we say that, listen, it is okay to be a woman, right? It's okay to want to be a man. And, everything, you choose what you want to do with your life. That's, we've always said that. But today in our culture, it's like, look at Adele, when she said she was proud to be a woman, she was like almost canceled, right? Like you can't even, it's so like they preach one thing.
Right.
And then it's like, do what I say, not what I do kind of mentality. And I think that's so bad for, one thing is for me and my generation, right? But for the younger generation, for our kids, oh my God.
But it's also like, they don't know what they want. Why have women, this is what people I think don't understand, doing this whole mishmash of, there's no thing as gender and men and women. So that completely undercuts the years that women have fought for the rights that we have now. And it's like, again, they don't know what they want, because I see it all the time, especially in Hollywood, like women's rights and smash the patriarchy. Well, if there's no such thing, there's no women, there's no patriarchy. Like, what are you even doing? Like women's rights, what? Women's rights, what? Like, why have women fought so hard? Because women, biological women, have been treated differently based on their sex since the beginning of time. That's why. Yeah. So it just completely undercuts all that. So it's like, how do you expect people it's like double think. It's like Orwellian. How do you expect us to believe both things, that women need rights and we're over here, but then also we're going to hand that over to men now? And we're seeing it in so many sectors. I mean, number one, with childbirth, even like I'm passionate about, I did a huge feature about women and, expressing ourselves in individualism and Playboy. Now I see men posing in bunny costumes. And I'm like, what? Are you just going to hand everything to men? Are you kidding me? It's like, you people don't know what you want.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, that's what it looks like when they're trying to confuse us and they're trying to rip us apart. Like we are being ripped apart now, emotionally, mentally, like our whole like nervous system, our whole like mental health. Like, how can you be sane in this confusing world where everything, like you said, like the feminism, everything that we have fought for so long, for, being treated as equals, but still women, that it's good to be a woman, right? All of that is being taken apart.
So Unni, what would you say as someone who is a mom? Because I saw some comments that said, if they're doing their thing and, because I'm very much a libertarian in the sense of like, do what, I don't want people controlling us, telling us what to do. You live over here, I live all over here, and we make our individual choices, right? But with that said, this is an example to me where I'm like, stay in your lane. Like if you choose to be a man, stay in that lane. What would you say to someone who's like, well, they're just doing their thing and over there and it doesn't affect you?
Yeah, well, this whole conversation affects everyone, right? And I think that what we need to focus on, as me as a parent right now, is just to try to build up, under the confidence of our kids that, you do you, but take your time. Don't try to get influenced by all the BS that you're hearing in school and reading about, and that you're supposed to, like, it's almost like you're supposed to be, you're less than if you are just a woman. It's like, or just a man, and I've been saying this for quite some time now, that it's almost nothing worse today than being a young man. It's like if you're a man today, young man today, and especially with a little bit of privilege, nobody wants you. Nobody wants to hire you. You don't get into the schools. Like, you are just the last person. Like, we have to stop treating people as garbage and as less than. We need to empower everyone. And what I like, where I really get so frustrated is this, they're telling us on the one hand that we want diversity. We want people to be who they are. Like we want everyone's welcome, all this thing. And then on the other side, we're really not. Because if you're not like, so if today, if you're not, gay or lesbian or bi, if you're not like, and disabled and, have a different color, like you're worth nothing, right? That's what the message is.
It actually is. And I read a fascinating piece about a young girl who transitioned to a boy when she literally had a mastectomy when she was 15, and she now has detransitioned because it was horribly wrong and young. And she talks about how people around her, educators, counselors, enabled it, right? Yeah. But she talks about how she was reading Tumblr and all these things online, to your point about it's bad to be a man or a woman these days, how she saw things online about how that was oppressive. It was oppressive somehow. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it's just I say this on my show all the time. I'm 31 and I'm confused. I can't even imagine for a young kid going through puberty, as a boy, and now they're putting tampons in the boys' bathrooms. I mean, are you kidding me? Like, how far does this go? And of course, as you know, the whole controversy of what's going on. I'm in Florida with the Don't Say Gay. You have one side going, we're putting these conversations in the hands of parents. And then we have the other side, to your point, where it's like, you can't speak up about it, going, well, if you're not okay, with what's going on in schools, you're a bigot, you're this, you're that. And it's like, are we serious?
Yeah.
Like, where's the common sense here?
Exactly. Where's the common sense? What happened to just like plain common sense? And also, like, I'm all for empowering people and including kids, right? But when you are 10 or 12 or 15, you do not know what you're doing, especially when it comes to something so serious as changing your sex. Like as you said, you're at 31, you're confused. Like I'm turning 50 this year and I'm confused, right? Like you can't allow, and that's where I think, like, common sense, parents have to have some sort of rights over their kids, right? It's not, the kids are not for the school to decide, or for the state, or for anyone. Kids, up until you turn like 18, the parents should be involved, right?
And that's where it gets so conflated, because I think you and I both have complete, empathy if there was a child suffering with body dysmorphia, and if they're, that's one thing. But then on the other end of it, I just feel like, let them be kids. I mean, for crying out loud, when I was 16, I was torn up about what color rubber band to put on my braces.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's like, at what point are we going to let this, almost like this sweep of the counterculture? And I can understand that. It's like people who felt like they weren't heard or seen for so long, but now it's like the Calvin Klein thing. It's like, buy into this or else you're punished. And it's just a horrible message, and it's horribly confusing. And to your point, let's kind of transition, no pun intended, into the idea of, women, fighting their way in a man's world, right? So to speak. So I really wanted your take on this, because this last week, Unni, I interviewed two young women for new movies coming out, right? About both of them. One is about an up and coming porn star in the LA porn scene who wants to be the next big star. One is about an up and coming country music star who wants to have the fame and all of it in Nashville, right? Yeah. And I noticed that both movies, again, had this theme with their little jabs and cuts at men, right? Like, we as women making it in, a man, men run world and media and entertainment and all this. And, I feel a little torn about it. I wanted your take, because on one end of it, it's like, okay, I can appreciate it. Like, and there's such visceral experiences. So I could see, on a porn set, right? She's being photographed and told what to do by men, right? And trying to make her way up and navigate. So I could understand it. But then on the other end of it, I'm kind of like, okay, when does it go too far? Like, when is it like making the message about women making their way? And when is it like turn to male bashing? Like, when is enough? Like, what is that line? What is your take?
I've been really conflicted about this whole thing since the Me Too started, right? Because there's so much, I mean, we have like, women are not powerless in our culture. I mean, if you go to like Afghanistan, like some of these countries over there, yes, there, it's really hard to be a woman, right? Like, you're not allowed to like dress as you want. There's so many rules and abuse, right? But in our culture, like in the United States, in Europe, women have a lot of power. And when we go willingly into a profession, any profession, whether that's, the legal profession or finance, like I did, or, which is male dominated, right? Or the porn industry, or movie, whatever it is, we go in willingly because we want something. And what do women like? What are, women are master manipulators. That's one of our strengths, right? Because we know that men love us. Men love women, right? Usually.
That's the truth.
Right. And thank God for that, right? Like, we need for women and men to love each other, right? So this whole thing that, oh, he was looking at me the wrong way. And I just like remember when I was starting out as a young attorney, right? I was working at this Wall Street law firm in Paris. And I remember there was some uncomfortable situations. I was, there were not many women, and, some of the guys, they like kind of like they hit on you and like, okay, you have to, you like, but at the same time, Taylor, and I am not ashamed to say this, as a woman, there are also advantages, right? Because you get noticed. So if you want to get something done, if you want to get visibility, if you want to get someplace as a woman in those very male dominated places, you can really get that done, right? And also another thing, and I've been saying this for years, is that we talk about equity, for women to be equal, to get the same opportunities as men. But in my whole career, very, very few women have actually empowered me and helped me. It was always the men who empowered and who helped me. So I think we need to stop the whole male, and men bashing. I mean, I am so grateful. I owe my whole career and everything that I've done to men.
So I have a very similar experience. I've said the exact same things on my show and in my work through the years. Hell, I even came out, I think, in an episode last year talking about all this. And I flat out said, I actually don't like working for women because of this experience.
Yeah.
And I love your point about owning, how we are different and powerful in a different way. And that's okay. And I think that's something that's happening right now is, women want to be equal to men, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I consider myself a feminist, but then when does it become problematic to where we want to be so equal that we bash them, though? Mm-hmm. So it becomes a little more than that. And also we have to actually, and I don't mean this as like actually transitioning to a man, but acting like and being like men. So that becomes a problem because it's like, well, no, we can be equal, but we can be different. And now it's become so convoluted, like everything else. It's like, well, no, we're going to act like them and have this alpha energy and be like them. And I think that comes out a lot in the workplace because you have women acting in a very toxic way. Yeah. And it's always, and I noticed it doing these interviews, even with people in Hollywood, like they always brush it under the rug because we have to, at the same time though, we have power and all this equal to men, but we're delicate, perfect little flowers. And we're not toxic. Oh no, toxic femininity is not a thing. And it's like, well, no, like it absolutely is a thing. And I think brushing it under the rug and acting like we're perfect isn't actually helping. Yeah. It's a little bit of a facade.
Exactly. And that's where it's two-faced and manipulative is that we on one side, we have actually taken over that sort of masculine energy. And, a lot of women feel like, oh, we don't need men anymore. Like we're done with men, right? This whole thing, because we are so strong. And this whole, I see this often also in very, in younger women in the workplace. They're so masculine. It's like, where's the woman? Like, where's that, the woman in you, the one who's, empathetic and compassionate and, creative and all the stuff. And then you have on the other side, this, oh, we're the delicate flower and we're being abused. So it's like, well, which are you?
Right. Yes.
And there's no place for men anymore in our society.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. And I have heard this about race, about gender. I heard a story about this event that goes on in Hollywood, right? And people are charged, I don't know, hundreds of dollars a plate, some gala, something. And basically what it says is it's, I think the leader is a female black woman. And I feel like you have to quantify a female woman, ovaries, has 2 boobs. Let me just lay out all the ways she's a woman, right? Just to clarify. But it made a joke because it's like white people pay to hear about how racist they are, right? Yeah. But the leader of the organization, and I thought that this was really alarming, said that, white men who come to this event, we don't even bother engaging with them. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, isn't that that's what this event is for, is it not? Yeah. And that I feel like goes for the gender thing too. You know what I mean? Where it's like, we're not even going to let men in on this conversation. And I feel like an example of that, the woman I interviewed who starred in the movie about the porn industry, in my interview with her, she said to me, I wasn't really concerned because I talk about this in the episode. It even changed some of my views of Me Too. Like it's very, very powerful and visceral, and just how women can be hurt and coerced, right? In settings. But she said to me, I wasn't really concerned with what men had to think about this movie. I was more concerned about what women thought about it. And I thought, something went off in my head going, but especially if it's about Me Too and consent and power dynamics in the workplace, porn or not, isn't men the people that these messages are for? Shouldn't they be the ones who are seeing this? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're shoving them out.
Yeah. And I think we're losing out. I mean, we're shooting ourselves in the foot as women, because what we've done is that we have, demasculated men, and we are not, we're not letting them into our lives. Right. And I think that makes, we need the two, we need the yin and the yang, we need the two. Right. And when we are not allowing for men to be the protector, to be the, let them protect us, let them have their role. We can't, and I don't think we are supposed to, as one gender, to be it all. Men are not supposed to be pregnant and have babies, and we are not supposed to be men. Let's just put it out. Let's just say it.
That's a really good point. It's like holding on. And I've said this on my show too, the yin and the yang, like some things that supplement each other. Isn't that the beauty? They talk about diversity. Yeah. Why do we all want to be the same?
Exactly.
Don't we want to hold on? And I think it plays into some of those traditional gender roles. Like that's okay. You and I, we can be, autonomous and powerful women in the workplace, at home, in personal lives, whatever it is, but I don't need to actually be a man,
Exactly.
And we can hold on to those differences, people knock the traditional gender role thing, but I think that there's power and importance in that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's stop pretending that we're not powerful as women, because
what drives me.
We can be brutally vicious, right? Especially with other women, but also to men. So let's just stop pretending that we are not powerful. We have a different power than men, yes, but it's as if not more powerful, right? So let's just own it, that we are powerful, and, be responsible with that power.
Unni, I get shit from, woke people, if you want to call it, because I don't indulge this toxic masculinity, smash the patriarchy, because I think it disempowers women. Exactly. I'm like, let actions speak louder than words. Go in there, don't complain, do the damn thing, get what you want accomplished, and that will speak volumes. Mm-hmm. And I get shit from people being like, oh, well, you're idealistic. It's not the real world. Again, it's the idea, even like these movies, like making it in a man's world. And it's just, I don't buy it. And I don't think that it's a good good message to pass on to women and young women.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good to put in their heads that it's like, you're automatically going to be oppressed. You're automatically going to, get passes at you in the workplace. Like, I just don't think that it's healthy.
Absolutely. I so agree with you. And I also think that we need to have a little humor around this, and humor, like
Yes.
not take ourselves so seriously all the time. Like my husband, I mean, it's a different generation, right? But he has a lot of sexist jokes, like all the time. Like but he's so funny. Like he's so fun about it. And he's the nicest guy. So like we laugh about it. Like when did we stop laughing about ourselves? Right.
I mean,
like it's okay to just like do some jokes, and it shouldn't be so serious all the time. Like now in the workplace, it's so bad. Like you can't even be like, if I'm standing in the elevator, like now, like a man can't even get in because like he's going to be like, the firm is like worried about being sued for sexual harassment if the two are standing in the same elevator. Like it's like crazy.
well, the thing is, it strips us of what makes us human. Women, especially in Hollywood too. I always kind of jab and jest at the idea of like the male gaze. And it's like, you know what? If they're going to look at our tits and our ass, that is what men do. Yeah. Sorry. Like it's stripping us of what, makes us human, for crying out loud. Exactly. I mean, give me a break.
And women want the attention. Like all these like Hollywood actresses that do all these scenes, with the nude scenes and all this stuff. Like, don't tell me that they don't do it to get, of course they do it to get the attention. We want the attention of men. So just own it. Own it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I brought this up actually in my interview with that woman because she's very, much nude in it. And my problem is when actresses, Sydney Sweeney of Euphoria, I met her, and she's a great, brief interaction, but she's great. But, I take issue with the fact that she went topless in Euphoria and then went and said how, she was degraded. It had undercut all her other work, and how people in the business now don't take her seriously, or, and if that happens, it's like, that's unfortunate. And I could see that, but I just feel like, own it, dude. Be like, I went topless. Yeah, it was fucking awesome. Eat your heart out. And I'm going to go crush this other scene where I'm wearing a turtleneck. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like just own it, you know?
And I think that sort of acceptance start with us. Like we have to and also as a role model, as a celebrity, they have to start owning their shit, right? They have to start owning their decisions and show the young people, show my kids, because they're role models to everyone, including kids, right? Like show them that, you can own the fact that you are nude in one movie and then not like turtleneck in the other, and that you are a woman and that you are strong and that you can also be protected by a man. And that's okay. You can be weak too, right?
Unni, you talked before about bringing some levity and comedy. Have you heard, or maybe not comedy in this particular example, but did you hear about what's going on with Bill Murray? He basically was Me Too'd. And, Bill Murray's what, like in his 70s? I don't know, in his 70s. And they stopped production on his movie because there were complaints about him, maybe being a little flirty, like tugging on a ponytail, like a grandpa would.
Yeah.
So it's like, to your point, again, it's like, really people are, we're going to be, and this is just one example, like this is running rampant in Hollywood. And again, it's that overcorrection, and especially in Hollywood, that's such a creative, like trying to capture the human experience. Are they trying to make us a bunch of robots?
Yeah.
What are you guys doing?
Exactly. I so agree with you. And this French actress, Catherine Deneuve, who's I think she's in her 70s right now too, but she was like this bombshell, right? Like this super beautiful, sexy, smart, this amazing actress, and still is today. And she said something about the whole, Me Too and everything that's going on right now. Is like we have to allow people to flirt. That's what we do as human beings. Like if you're not allowed to flirt anymore, and like the whole Bill Murray thing and all these other situations that you have in every workplace, like you have to, like, you can't remove that whole little, like the little tension, the little something that goes on, like, which is super innocent, right? Like, and of course, if it's abuse, it's abuse. That's a whole different story. But we have just stripped everything, like the whole thing out of this. And I think that's really, it's like this whole COVID pandemic, and this as well, it just takes away our pleasure of being a human being. Like just like COVID took our smell and our taste. This takes away our taste for life, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's really unfortunate.
Let's quickly talk about the idea, because I obviously am very vocal about Me Too. I've had people on my show like Girls Gone Wild founder Joe Francis, like Barstool founder Dave Portnoy, who have been accused. So I very much have had the backs of men while also having the backs of women. But let's talk about consent quickly, because I feel like a conversation, I don't know. I feel like this is where it's also a one-way street of how the narrative is like, men should know better, women are delicate flowers. And the way I see it, again, it's a very serious thing. And we need to, as women, step into our power. If we have the power to make, choices that can alter our whole lives, right? Yeah. Having an abortion, going into war, transitioning. Yeah. Sex is no exception. So I feel like it goes without saying, of course, we need to educate, young men to treat women with respect, right? And to treat them right. But on the other end of it, the narrative we're hearing right now is all of the onus is always on men, when it comes to Me Too, no matter what. And I just feel like it's dangerous to have consent as this like wishy-washy thing. Like it should be, also, I feel like I would get flack for this, but I'm very passionate about women also having the wherewithal to make good decisions and not put themselves in a bad position. It's like, again, I wouldn't even walk in a dark alley alone at night. I'm 5'1", I'm curvy. There's a point where it's common sense, and the woke Hollywood mainstream narrative doesn't like this, because in their mind, of course you should walk down a dark alley. Of course you should be on a porn set. Of course, if the world was perfect, but it's not. And I feel like we have to equip women to be able to be on the defensive and put themselves in good positions. But it's like, nope, for some reason, this is not the appropriate thing to say. It's all on men. Men are bad.
Exactly. It's like, and this is what I so disagree. Like you can't say that, like one gender is bad. Like it's like you cancel men, right? I think we as women, it's like so disempowering if we, we have to also take responsibility for our actions, for our manipulations, for our seductions, all the things that we do, with regards to men. I have a daughter, I have a son. And it's sure, like I'm teaching my daughter not to put herself in dangerous situations, not to walk home, in the dark alone, like, call us, we'll come get you, or, whatever. And for my son also to be a responsible, respectful young man, right. With girls. And of course we have to teach, it's all about values, valuing and respecting ourselves and the other. Right. And it shouldn't matter whether you're, a girl or a boy, we each deserve respect, and we are all needed. We need each other. Right. So if we want to empower women, give women the power back to make responsible decisions. Right.
Well, that's what Unni, a lot of it comes down to, is that gray area, because women will say, say they had a sexual encounter, and then they come out after the fact and said, this is where it's tricky, because they'll say, I was intimidated, or I felt pressured, or I was scared that they would hurt me. And I can understand that power dynamic. But on the other end of it, say you have the guy who had no idea, and then she comes out, he's kicked out of school, off his sports team, off of a movie set, whatever. Well, that's not fair. It's like, what's right here? That's not fair either. If he's like, well, I didn't know. I had no idea it was going too far for you. You know what I mean? It's like,
And our law, our system, we have a legal system that says that you are innocent until proven guilty. And you can't just like by definition, because you're a man, a young man, you are guilty for whatever the girl and the woman was feeling in that moment. You have to, as a woman, as a girl, you have to learn to express yourself. Right. And of course, there are cases where young women and women get raped, and it's horrible, right? It's horrible. We're not saying that they're not being raped.
Oh no, that's a whole other.
Right. Yes. It's a whole other thing.
Yes.
But we can't just automatically destroy a young man's life because, we have to also allow each other a little slack. Like a young man, do you think he's any less confused and any less like sure of himself than a young woman? Of course he's not. Like he is just as confused and unsure as a woman. And we also have to, allow people to make mistakes. And I think what happened with this whole, like, if you're a woman and you kind of regret it or you felt unsure, whatever, and you didn't really express it, but then you can just go back on it and like kind of just like, in a way, instead of dealing with your own guilt, you just put that whole thing onto someone else, destroying their life.
Right. It's
and
not
we
okay.
we need to set our foot down, and like, that's not okay. And I'm certainly not going to teach my girl to become that young woman.
Right. It's not right. We only have a couple minutes, but you talk about something interesting, because men really, again, this is the unpopular thing to say, because it's like, oh, I think white men, straight men, they're fine. They've, we've coddled them enough. But there is, you said to me privately, they are, suffering in a way, like they're depressed, they're emasculated in, 60 seconds. What's happening there?
Yeah. I've said this for a long time, that there's nothing worse today than being a white young man. Nobody wants you. You don't get the jobs. Like nobody, like you don't matter. And so what we've gotten wrong there is that we're trying to empowering one group, we are disempowering another. And that's not the way to do it. There's enough love to go around and enough power to go around for everyone. So let's just empower everyone and not like remove something from one group, right? And just to give that to someone else to be the abuser, right? Because what happens then is that we as women, we become the abusers.
Perfect segue. Last minute, Depp Heard trial. I know, we've shared similar thoughts, but really this shines a light on, again, a forbidden thought with Me Too, but the women being the abuser. Mm-hmm. Final thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I think it's, we have to, I think in the Depp Heard situation, I mean, I don't know what really happened there, but my sense of it is that there are two sides to this, and it's not it's so clear to me that there's probably some abuse on both sides there. Mm-hmm. And to just allow, to put the blame on Johnny Depp, and that she was the weak, delicate flower thing when she clearly is not. I think that's illustrating the whole problem, what we're having right now. And I think hopefully it will come to a conclusion that actually empowers, women to take back, because what's happening there, if she is allowed to just be the victim that she wants to be, then we're just disempowering young women, right? So like, take responsibility for your lives, right? No matter what you are, if you're a woman or a man, doesn't matter.
That's a perfect way to end this. Unni, thank you so much. And I think my big takeaway from this, again, it applies to so many issues, trans, women, race, whatever it is, you can be empowered and you don't have to disempower somebody else, right? Yeah. We can be, empowered all around. So I really want to thank you for honing in on that message today. I think it's really important. And Unni, not only can they cancel me, but they can cancel us, baby. I appreciate you. I appreciate you bringing all of your, opinions to the forefront. And I can't wait for everybody to hear it. Thank you so much, Unni.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for having me. What a wonderful conversation.